The wooden shack is really coming together. Welcome back to the Van Build Adventure. I am Confluence, aka Krishan. Today it's wall finsulation. We're finishing the insulation. We're finsulating, if you will, and then cladding, and perhaps the most exciting bit, figuring out the gritty details of my guitar stand. The walls were pretty straightforward. I'm not wearing my mic. YouTube noob. I started with the front right wall. And first of all I put down a layer of this sound deadening mat. But it was a bit haphazard because I wasn't really that convinced it was going to do anything. It's designed for going under floors in buildings. And yeah, I wasn't really that convinced it was going to do anything on the wall. It was quite flimsy and a bit difficult to attach. So I slapped some up there. And then on top of that, I put a layer of bubble foil. As you can see, I'm not doing any kind of vapor barrier type shenanigans here. I decided on balance that I was going to land on the no vapor barrier side of that intense debate. But you know, if you want to have that debate with somebody who isn't me, because I'm not, I think it's a pointless discussion at this point until we actually have some scientific evidence. You can feel free to have it in the comments. I will watch with the metaphorical popcorn. Once I had all that stapled in place, my big boy beefy battens, I moved on to the cladding. The first one needed to be cut off a little bit more because there was a bit of metal jutting out from the ceiling, part of some strutty, sticky outy business. I don't know. Metal, van, stuff. And I also had to sort of shave off my excess spray foam so I could get the planks in place. But that was all fine really. I got it as close up to the supports around where my control panel will be as I could. There was a small gap, but I was able to cover it up later just fine really. It's not the thing now. You can tell I'm getting tired because my brain is going. So yeah, I just kind of continued across, shaving where appropriate, cutting them to slightly different sizes. So it's a little bit more complicated than the bulkhead from the last video, but not greatly really. It's just a case of working my way across and drilling and then screwing them into place really. Trying to keep the line consistent so I don't accidentally wander off and try and screw into insulation rather than batten. At the very edge I did have to cut a little bit off so that I wasn't impeding on the cladding from the bulkhead. That was a reasonably simple case of kind of approximating and drawing it and measuring some things and drawing a line and then shaving it off. Nothing too fancy. And then went and continued with the rear, the other side of the sticky out bit that's going to be my control panel on the right hand side, and did that wall. I don't seem to have any footage of this bit, but it was exactly the same as what I'd just done. So thankfully this first bit of footage did seem to survive the great time-lapse wars of 2020. So you can get the general idea. And then moved on to the other side. On this side, I just left out the acoustic padding. I just figured it wasn't going to do enough to be worth the bother. It's going to be right next to a door that's not going to have any insulation on it anyway, really. So having a bit more sound deadening just like there, instead of right next to that doesn't have anything, I didn't think it was going to do anything. I couldn't be bothered. I just slapped some bubble foil on and plugged away at the cladding again. The interesting bit was attaching my guitar stand really. I tried to find some actual instruction out there in YouTube land of how people have secured guitars in vans, and I saw a couple of kind of neat solutions of sort of hanging them off the wall with bungees and things, but no one really going into much detail, and it seemed like everyone had done it a little bit differently. So I figured, hey, I'll just kind of make up my own version. And so I used a pretty simple wall guitar stand which I got from Amazon. I think it was like £7 or something. It was very reasonable really, and that has a little plastic bit that kind of hooks around the head of the guitar. I didn't really think that was enough to secure the whole thing in place. I didn't want it swinging around and bashing into the wall while I was driving, so I thought, hey, I'll just use another one of the little metal eyelets that I use to secure my sub, just put it directly behind around the middle of the body, and then I can have a bungee that's reasonably loose but still enough to kind of hold it in place. It just goes around the body and the strings, and that works really nicely actually. I have no complaints. It's pretty much as simple as you can get whilst seeming to defend the precious vintage guitar from a certain death by pummeling if it wasn't secured in place. So essentially, as I got to the right point in the wall, I lined everything up, drilled in holes for the holder itself, and screwed that on with some long screws. That was all good, and then figured out where I could put the eyelet. That was a little bit trickier. I kind of got lucky that there was batten in the right place and that I could find it. I think I did drill one hole into nothing before I found batten again, but it kind of all worked out okay, and yeah, produced a very nice functional guitar stand that's present and correct and does all the things that you would want from a thing that holds a guitar. It's pretty great. I like it. And yeah, it was then just a case of finishing off all the cladding I could do. Unfortunately, because of where the batten ends, where the kind of metal starts to come out, I couldn't bring the cladding all the way to the edge, so it's left a bit of bubble foil, a few pieces kind of sticking out, wafting in the wind. And they remain there to this day. I haven't covered that up yet. I kind of wanted to do something with fabric, but I wanted to go and find some fabric in the flesh, in person, and there hasn't really been a point where I have wanted to do that since then. I don't know, like obviously things calmed down a bit over the summer, but we're very much back into the throes of lockdown. It wasn't really that important. I am kind of starting to get bugged by the bits of finishing that need to be done, but it's really hard to make progress in winter. I'm so impressed by people who manage to do van builds in winter, because I just can't handle both the lack of light and the temperature. It's just kind of brutal. I just don't want to do it. My hands just get so cold so quickly, and it's just kind of nasty. And I can just wait till spring. I'm not that bothered by cosmetic things. What I care about really is, does it work? And it does work. It works good, except for all the things that don't work so good, but we're not going to talk about those here. No. So yeah, that's it really. That's the wall cladding done. The bulkhead's clad, the walls are clad, the ply is up. Walls, the box, it's a wooden box. It is a fully woodenized box. Obviously now I have to fill it with things, but that's kind of the most exciting bit, right? Next week's video is going to be about varnishing the walls and the ceiling, which isn't really very exciting, but it's more fun than varnishing boxes. If you've enjoyed this video or found it helpful, a like would be most appreciated. Obviously comments and subscriptions and shares are also wonderful, but I'm not expecting anything of you fine people. You've got busy lives. You don't need this stuff on your mind. It's just pure silly. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. See you later, taters.